We are here and we are ready.
So this started with a
dream.
dream. I am Jermaine L. Stearns, and they also call me Pastor J.
And I am Ronnie D. Stearns, and I am known as Lady Stearns.
So a few years ago, it's been about 3 years since we have come together. The dream that I had was the former pastor, Bishop Kirkman, asked me in a dream, would I come back to pastor Hope Christian Church? And in the dream, I said yes. And I woke up from the dream and I immediately shared with my wife, who had been asking me for years, would I ever come back to Hope Christian Church, or would we ever see ourselves back at Hope Christian Church? And for every year she asked, it was no.
And so for me, I was also having dreams that the Lord was showing me that we were back at 7720, also known as Hope. And so that was where the questioning came from. When I would have a dream, the Lord would show me very intricate things. And I'm like, okay, we're going back. Did I think it would be in this capacity? No. Did not have an idea of how it would look. So I would ask, and his answer would be no. And so I just said, okay, because I know what I see, and I know that the Lord does deal with me in dreams at times, not often. So when I do have a dream and it's as detailed, I know for sure like he's saying something. And so started with a dream.
My name is Charisma Norris, and I came from Victorious Christian Deliverance Center. Before the merge, my ministry was, in my eyes, this is probably bad to say, but perfect. It was great. It was an experience. I knew that God was going to be in the presence every Sunday. Before joining my church, I actually came from some church hurt, a church that I thought was, close to my heart, but it crumbled. So joining VCDC was kind of like a new start, and meeting new people, meeting new family members, it kind of, became a new home for me and my son, and it was everything.
Hope Christian Church was home to us. He was the first youth pastor, got ordained at Hope, like everything. Journey came here, she was 3 months old. It's her first church. We conceived Jordan and Josiah while we were members. So Hope Christian Church was our family church.
We were praise
leaders, choir director, media, everything. We learned leadership. We learned ministry.
Yeah.
We learned how to be church planters from Bishop Wayman J. Kirkman Sr. and Overseer Sandra Kirkman. Like, this was home.
My name is Journey.
My name is Josiah.
Hi, I am Jordan Stearns. What ministry did we join from?
Both.
We say both because I came here when I was 3 months old and my siblings were born into the ministry.
My name is Tanya Warren, and the ministry that I've joined from is Hope Christian Church Incorporated. Have I ever heard of a church merge or ministry merger? Yes, I have.
My name is Ty, and I joined from Hope Christian Church. My initial thought of two ministries joining to be as one was, it'll be cool.
My initial thoughts, I thought it was gonna be great seeing like we've been to this church before, so we knew some of the people. So I thought it would be nice to see them again and just making people happy with Christ.
Returning as a merged church to me was just going back home. Those were my thoughts about coming back. I was excited. I was I think I'm always more optimistic, and I think it can be a strength, but it also can be, a challenge. I always see the good in things, try to be positive about it. So I'm thinking we're going home, we're going to be able to, we're better together, and that wound up being our theme coming back. I'm like, we are better together. This is what God wanted from the beginning, and so I was excited. It was bittersweet, I will say, because God birthed Victorious Christian Deliverance Center out of us. And that's where we grew. We were on the backside of the mountain, as we used to say. And so, kind of walking away from VCDC as a standalone, it was different. I don't think I dwelt on it too much. I was more focused on where we were going because I knew that that's what God wanted, and I was excited. I really was excited.
I think for me, my emotions or my thoughts about returning or merging Hope Christian Church and Victorious Christian Deliverance Center together. Again, that was not in my plan. It wasn't a thought for me when we were released from the Branch of Hope, which is a ministry that was birthed out of Hope Christian Church in Spring Lake. When we were released to go there, and we were there for, I believe, a year.
Hearing some change.
And we God was speaking, and we were released to be released from Hope Christian Church altogether and Hope Fellowship International. It wasn't a plan to go back. It wasn't a desire that I was having to go back. And so when I was having the dream and my wife was asking these questions, I think there was some level of just trying to overcome some emotional things, and because everything that happened while we were here at Hope, or part of Hope Christian Church, it wasn't all bad, but it wasn't all good. We had some highs and we had some lows. And so I think merging the two churches together wasn't in my plan. It wasn't a thought process. But when God started speaking about merging the churches together or coming together, I had so many mixed emotions because I was still dealing with some things personally in myself. I was thinking about the people who were in fellowship with us, our members, some people who were a part of Hope Christian Church was also now a part of Victorious Christian Deliverance Center. And so all of my thoughts as a leader were centered around how they were going to feel, if they were ready, all of those things. And so my emotions were high and lows. But for the 3 years of that process, God was healing and God was speaking. I just can't say that I was in a posture to just say yes so quick.
Some of the negative things that I heard about the merge honestly came from co-laborers at VCDC. They used to come to Hope Christian Center, and some were just new members that didn't really know how to feel. Because I didn't know how to feel, it was just really me trying to be, calm within the process, even though I really didn't want to go. But hearing other people's negative thoughts like, oh, those people this, or I don't know what's going to happen there, or I wish I had a certain position before we had moved forward. Stuff like that kind of was like, do I really want to go through this process?
Some of the negative things that I heard from people about the merge was the probably the incoming pastor, age-wise, or that that the previous pastor had given up on the church, was I would say a negative remarks that was given that I heard.
That I feel like I abandoned all the things that we had worked towards. I can't say initially I thought that was, part of the process. Did I feel like we were abandoning I didn't think we were abandoning. I think that it was opportunity for God to expand what we had started, because we started the church in our living room. We started Victorious Christian Deliverance in our house, in our living room. Literally, the living room was our sanctuary. The kitchen was the overflow. The garage was Children's Church.
The backyard was the playground.
Yeah. So I mean, we didn't have a place to worship, and our home was our worship center. And I didn't think we were abandoning it. I just think that we were expanding, because prophetically God was speaking to us that the place that we were in was just too small. We were growing, and it was just too small. And so it was just time to launch out. We had been searching for buildings and locations, and we had done prayed. We were like the Israelite marching around the doggone Jericho city walls at different places. We was like, oh, this might be the place. So we're gonna walk around this, and we're gonna pray here, and we go like, okay. But all of that may sound trivial or like crazy to people, but it was our faith. We heard God speak. And I must say this, when we launched VCDC, the day we launched, Bishop Timothy Newton, he was our speaker. And at that launch, he said, I hear the Lord say, September, that there's gonna be a place that God is gonna give to you. Fully furnished, instruments, everything is gonna be handed to you. So every year since then, we were looking for September. And so I don't know if abandon was the right word that we've invested into it. I don't think it was abandoned. I think it was just a shift or an adjustment,
And I think for me, I didn't necessarily feel like we abandoned all that God allowed us to work towards, but I will say that once we merged, I think it hit me when there was a clash of culture.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because Hope Christian Church was more multi-generational, more of the seasoned saints with a mix of, young adult and youth, whereas VCDC was very millennial, our age, young adult, and then, of course, a slew of kids. But I think it made me feel like, wow, the Lord allowed us to cultivate a culture at VCDC that was very exciting, very energetic, very liberating and liberated. Just a really young focus. Not that we were just for young people, but those were the folks, the college kids and, students coming to the church and things like that. So I think I felt a little like, wow, we left, like now we gotta figure out the culture. Like, how do we build, what does this culture look like as a merge?
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I felt a bit conflicted, or where I missed the VCDC culture, because now we had to
create another
one and kind of sense where organically the culture was going. So I didn't feel like it was completely thrown away, but I did feel like there was just this conflict for me trying to kind of figure that out. I'm like, we had it there, and now I feel like I don't know what, like what direction our culture, our ministry culture is going in. So I think it didn't feel like abandonment, but it did feel like I missed the VCDC way.
When I heard that VCDC was closing and that we were merging with Hope Christian Church, I was excited because I felt that I'll be able to reconnect with people that I haven't seen in a very long time from Hope Christian Church, and I feel like it would be a good experience to fellowship together as one.
I was a little sad because I loved VCDC. That was my home church. But I was very excited to come to Hope Christian Church and meet new people.
My name is Terrence, and I joined from Hope Christian Church. People did leave in the process. I know most of the time you're not supposed to follow man or woman, but kind of felt abandoned.
Someone told us a long time ago, taught us the people are not yours. They're not your people. So they're God's people. And I'm always of the mindset that sometimes you as a leader, you're not going to be everybody's pick. Everybody doesn't adjust well to change. And if this is not where God has you to be, then we celebrate you and we want you to be successful in Jesus elsewhere. You know, that sounds a little, you know, maybe brash, but I don't know. I didn't feel like people gave us a chance as leaders. So that was a little kind of like heartbreaking. But aside from that, they not our people. So that's where I kind of stood. I was more protective of him and his heart and his feelings because, you know, he's the senior leader here. So I'm a very protective wife. I'm an elder at the church. I'm leading lady, but that's my husband. So yeah.
I think it wasn't, mine is very short. I think I felt when the people left, it wasn't the fact that they were leaving, it was how they left. And I think that's been my motto for years. We don't own people. They're God's people, so we give them back to God. We're just shepherds who are assisting and covering and watching over their souls. I just think it wasn't the fact they were leaving, it was just how they left. And many people who were, many of them who were deacons and faithful, committed members didn't communicate. They would drop keys off and just leave. And some of these people, we were hand in hand together. And it was like, wow, just drop keys off and not even say we leaving or have a conversation, not even write a letter, but send a smoke signal or something. They just left. And I think for me, maturity doesn't always equal age. And I think that was just the thing that bothered me. So it wasn't the fact they was leaving, it was just the fact of how they left. It just could have been a little bit better.
And then I'll add, our children, when they have the questions.
Yes.
Where's such and such? Are they still apart? And having to teach them and explain that, that was different. But they're very resilient.
Yeah.
But they see things, they notice. Yeah. And so, yeah.
And I think the other part about that is some of them, we still don't even know they're not members. They never said anything to us. But we're still pressing forward.
One thing that I wish I would have done different at the beginning of the merge, getting a clear understanding of the merge, as far as these two ministries coming together, getting a clear understanding of my position within the merge. Main thing was communication. The main thing was communication.
Some things that I saw my parents go through or experience while trying to merge our ministries together were a lot of difficulties with people who weren't comfortable with the merge. I noticed that they were so focused on church and trying to make sure that, you know, everyone kind of feels comfortable in the ministry. It was hard to see them kind of be a little bit disappointed that some people didn't stay or some people kind of left. But at the end of the day, it is ministry. So it's not really about your feelings. But I know that they will be here constantly trying to get things together with the church. And it can be stressful because they're here almost like all the time. But those are some of the things that I've seen them go through.
I saw my parents go through trials and tribulations with people leaving and going.
My thoughts on how Pastor Jay handled the process, I feel like he handled it gracefully. If he was going through any type of turmoil, any type of, headaches or anything, difficulty, I definitely couldn't tell. I mean, sometimes there were days where he was laid out on the altar and sobbing and crying, but I wouldn't have known that it was, because of the merge. So it was definitely a graceful process.
What encouraged me to continue to serve throughout the merge was what God spoke to me in the very beginning, and that was rest in me. That's what kept me going. And to know that we not only packed up and shifted, the evidence of resting in God and the evidence that this is where we were supposed to be by souls coming and lives being changed and our kids just being liberated in God, that's what kept me going. Just knowing that when God said rest in me, I stayed stuck on that word in spite of whoever felt what and opinions. That was where I was. I knew I was supposed to be here every time someone came to Christ.
And I would say the souls, seeing people who were committed to the kingdom, seeing people grow, change, their words of encouragement to tell us that, you know, thank you, thank you for being committed. Please stay, that was encouraging from those who worship with us. So, and knowing that this was our assigned place. I mean, it's like God already spoke it, so we might as well be obedient. There's a moment that happened years prior to us merging. We were celebrating some of our friends in ministry, Pastor Archie and Pastor Dana Smith, and we went to their pastoral installation, ordination service, and Overseer Wynn, who we'd never met, was there. And there was a moment that happened in that service that was so divine. It was so divine. It was like he literally came all the way to Ohio somewhere, and like I know he was there for the service for them, but it was almost like God handpicked him to be there for us. And not gonna go into all the specifics of what happened, but he was preaching and he kept saying one thing, identifying that the Lord told him while he was preparing at home that there would be somebody in that service who had gone through a certain situation and that the Lord was going to heal them. And the Lord told him that while he was back home. And so my heart's beating fast. His heart's beating fast.
I'm over it.
We holding on to each other like...
I am over it.
I mean, like, I'm like, God, now wait a minute. We are in this service. And this man, I'm like, this cannot be happening right now.
Well, let me say this. I was over it because, when we're talking about knowing the right place, of course, it's such a broad question because as Ronnie was talking, I was over it because Pastor Smith, a friend of ours, he was like, well, bro, I need y'all to come and I need y'all to be investments. And I was like, I ain't doing no investments, callers, and we're not doing that. Can we just come and show up? And of course he was like, man, just wear the stuff. And I was just like, we were obedient. So we got there, but I was over it. I was over it because I was like, I'm here to support. I'm not here to be on any official spiritual Shanana assignment. I'm just here to support. And Pastor Wynn did speak.
Yes, and so eventually it got to the point where he kept repeating it to where
I literally raised my hand in the middle of the service. I interrupted her right there. I raised my hand and I stopped the service and I said, you are talking to me, right?
He said, come now. And from that point, it was like, because it was a burden on him. And he kept going back to it. I know you're in this room. Like God told me.
Yeah.
And, he said something very specific. He said, by the end of the summer, God is going to restore.
Yeah. Because what was happening was, we can't leave out this part. Bishop Kirkman and myself, our relationship was strained. It was a strained relationship. For years, I would reach out and text and, it would be communication here and there. And then it would just be like none. But it was that was the pivotal moment of that because Pastor Wynn said that by the end of that summer, we were reconciled.
Yeah. And so I can't even remember how it happened. I don't remember the details of it, but we wound up going, either they came to our house.
No.
We went down.
He texted me and wanted
when they got their house.
Yes.
That's what it was. They got
me.
their new house, the one with the land and all the stuff I saw in the dream, that house, and invited us over.
They had a pond in the backyard and he wanted the kids to come fishing.
So we get there, we're doing that, kids fishing. Overseer makes my okra because I love her okra. And we wound up circling up to pray. And that's something we've always done when we're with them. We always pray out or whatever. And as we're holding hands, mind you, it's Labor Day weekend.
The end of the summer.
Okay, Labor Day weekend. And we're praying, and I hear Overseer Wynn in my ear by the end of the summer. And then I see a calendar in my head. And I remember seeing that or looking up what Labor Day was, and it marks the end of the summer. And I was like, Lord, you done it again. And so I shared the whole thing. We shared the whole experience with Overseer Wynn speaking into us, and how it was very specific. And that was September.
It was
And
September.
so going back to when we launched VCDC, September being a month, end of the summer, it just all, those were signs, but didn't know how, again, it was all going to come together.
So it was prophetic word, it was dreams,
it was struggle,
it was vision, it was warfare. All of those things were signs to know that we were in the right place and doing the right thing.
The greatest part about being in through the merger was I get to be myself. I got to open up a little bit more. It helped me get through my weaknesses, and I found some strengths in the process.
I would say the joy that I've got from this merge and being a part of this process is meeting new people in the process. Some we knew already as we merged. We knew members from previous relation, but just learning new people, getting to meet new people, the new gifts that God was bringing to the ministry as a whole, on how we've learned how to work together, learning our differences, because in any ministry or in any relationship, there's always differences that take place, but growing through those differences as we continue to go forward. There's still going to be some of those, but just learning how to communicate and grow in those differences has been an awesome experience. A lot of, as we merged, a lot of them are younger than I. I'm kind of, I kind of counting myself as a senior just a little bit, but just learning the body. You know, the Bible says, know those who you labor amongst, know those who labor amongst you. And so it's been a process of learning each person and growing together. That's the main thing. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about Pastor. He's very outgoing, photogenic.
He's my dad/dad, and he's a very great person. He is powerful, and he is bold.
My first lady is equally as amazing as her husband, but being biased, she is probably more amazing. And I say that because she is, oh my goodness, I'm trying not to cry, I'm sorry. But she is someone where you know that she's going to have your back 10,000% in anything. You can call her whenever. She covers our pastor like no other. She's an awesome example of a woman of God.
One word to describe my pastor: outgoing.
Strong.
Energetic.
Joyful.
Anointed.
Passionate.
Prophetic.
One word to describe my first lady is devoted.
Sophisticated.
Spiritual.
Is powerful.
Caring.
Humble.
Bold.
The message that I would share to my leaders is, we got your back. Whatever's next, we're there.
One message to my leaders that I have not shared is that they can continue to walk the path that God gave them and not be afraid of anything that can come their way. There is nothing that the devil can do to block what God has for them and their family. And this merge is one thing that has proven that for sure. If they can go through this, if they can go through the hurt, if they can go through the backbiting, the doubting that has happened in this season, then any season ahead of them will not fail. They are truly victorious and they truly live their lives with hope.
One message I can give to my leaders: keep doing what God has for you to do. Know that everything that you do have great purpose for the kingdom of God, but even for the body of Victorious Hope as we go forward. Continue to know that we are here with you and we stand with you as we together do the work that God has called for us to do. And I love you.
If I could give a message to my pastor and first lady that I haven't shared, is thank you for being who you are to me in this ministry.
The merge being complete is we would have to contribute that to it being God, that this was a God thing. Knowing that it's not so much the Sunday morning or the Tuesday night Bible studies that we have, that's the evidence of completion. It is truthfully the behind the scenes work, the documentations, the paperwork being completed, the minutes being sealed. Those are the things that I stand on, and I feel very safe and I feel very assured that Victorious Hope is going to another level, and we've reached another level, knowing that not only the behind the scenes work is done, but what we have done or what we do on Sunday mornings and on Tuesday nights and back to school bash and conferences and stuff that we've embarked on are being very successful. It just does my heart well to know that we're completed in those areas. Yeah.
For me, I'm emotional knowing that the merge is complete. It's almost a confirmation that what God said, it happened, you know? It shows it shows that we stood the test of time. It shows that people trust the God in us. Yeah. It shows that people trust the God in us, that we trust God. And I'm excited. It's like the dust has settled and we can move forward. Like we can just keep forging ahead, keep building on a sure foundation. And I'm really excited about everything that's to come. We are Victorious Hope.
Yep, absolutely.
So.